Okay, YouTube, do your thing. Okay, there it goes. All right, y'all. Sound check one more time. Mic check, 1 2 1 2. Let me know if you can hear me. Okay, well, as y'all know, today is the day. I have a very special guest. I am honored to be able for y'all to hear his story. I've gotten to hear a lot of it, but I know not all of it. And this is going to be a great time. We will have question and answer after. But as you saw in the title, I have Sheriden Shanwi with me, and he, in his own right, is a talent musician and everything. And then also, he has worked with the legendary CeCe Winans, R&B singer Tank, and more people. That was just all I could fit in the title for now. But y'all, I would love for you to welcome Sheriden. So hold on 1 second. I'm gonna get Sheriden up here, and I hope you enjoy this. I have enjoyed the prequel, so
What's going on, good people? As I was introduced as, my name is Sheridan Shanway, and I am a producer, songwriter, a little bit of singing, but just a lover of people and a lover of what I do. So how I got started in all of this, I'm a church boy at heart. I grew up in the church. My dad was one of the assistant pastors of one of the largest churches in my city at the time, most progressive city, or progressive church in the city at one time. And thank you. And he always so my dad was that type of person. He was that type of dad that people talk about when they talk about the greatest dad in the world, unbiased. And I say unbiased because if you were to ask anybody who knew my dad, then they would tell you he was one of the most amazing people that they ever knew. So I had, big shoes to fill, but he modeled that in front of me. He was a very consistent guy. He was a musician in and of himself. But he started the church, had a church for about 5 years due to illness, shut the church down. But I started playing, started my interest in playing at his church in a small town, Paducah, Kentucky. Um, and so we ended up moving back to Louisville, Kentucky, where I currently reside. And I started taking music more seriously around the age of 15. Um, tell you a quick story. I was playing in our Sunday night service. I was playing on a piano that nobody could hear. There was an organ right beside me. My mentor, Lonnie Floyd, shout out to you. And she was playing. She got up and went to the bathroom, and somebody started singing. So I had to move from the piano to the organ, or I had to play on the piano, play the song. And I mean, I held it down. So from then on, I started playing. She moved me to Oregon, and it just took off from there. I started, practicing more, took it a lot more seriously. She started guiding me, came into relationship with a lot of other people who were doing the same thing that I was doing, and grew me to the point to where I am now. And I'm grateful for that experience. But coming from playing, um and I hope people understand that when you do what you're supposed to do, it should be like the trunk of a tree that's sprouting, or a small tree that's sprouting into a big tree. It should branch off into several other areas that are related, or may not be related, but they're related to your start. So everything that I've done in my professional career has literally been related to my start with music. So after that, went on to college, directed my college choir for a number of years, and then graduated from college with the degree in business. Went on to go to another church where I became the musical director, and that introduced me to a different. It was a different level set for me. I had to learn how to organize a band. I had to learn music differently and correctly. and I had to hold myself accountable. I had to hold people accountable. So it was different training. This was in my late teens, early 20s, and so from there, I accepted a position at another church, which I'm currently a member at now. Have been a member for a long time, for it'll be 15 years. So I became a member there, but I served there as a musical director, and that's where my technical knowledge started to become developed. We would deal with challenges that we didn't have people who had the expertise to do, and I was naturally a curious person, like I was as a child, and as a kid, I like to take things apart. Took line from lawnmowers to toys to all of that stuff. Yeah, it was an interesting childhood, but it served me well to this point. So, in dealing with those technical issues, I just researched how to fix the technical issues or how to do something differently or do it better, and just became adept in those fields. I've always loved keyboards, instrumentation. I've always loved, how they worked from the fundamental standpoint, like cracking the hood open and figuring out how it works, not just pressing the key and understanding that it's a piano or a keyboard, or plucking a string and understanding it's a guitar. I want to know what makes that work. So, did research on that stuff. Got into into live sound engineering while I was there. Ended up directing a lot more. Ended up singing there. I actually produced, recorded, and released a record in 2014. It's called "Love Never Fails" under my name, Sheridan, but Sheridan Williams, my legal name. So y'all can look that up on digital platforms. It's there. Um, yeah, my I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew that was something that I was called to do, so I did it. So did that 2014. I'm still a member of the church that I served at, and I got all that knowledge from, and I still work actively with them. But I also have accepted a position, and have been at my brother's church for about 6 years, Kingdom Fellowship Christian Life Center. Shout out to Tim Finley, my brother, my friend. Um, and so it's been a compounding effect. Everything that I've learned and every place that I've gone has given me the tools to grow up to where I'm at now. And it's led to this point in my life. And in the midst of doing all of those things, I have been able to begin a career, or not even begin a career, but I've been able to establish a career in music and music technology, that is amazing. Hey, what's up, cuz? Uh, that's really amazing. And I love what I do. So currently now, I am a touring tech. So essentially what I do, on the basic standpoint, I usually go in as a backline tech or a playback engineer. So a playback engineer is playing all of those sounds that you hear from the records. Like when you go into those Millennial tours, the Millennium Tour, when you go into the reunion tour, I mean, I can call the majority of your artists have playback, and what that is that's a computer with a few of the sounds of the original record to help you connect with that nostalgia of the first time that you heard that, or the thousandth time that you played your favorite song. It's gonna have the regular essence, the real essence of what that was, all in the computer. There's a person that's responsible for playing that stuff. A lot of times I do that. I also am a backline tech, which means, um, I think somebody explained it. If somebody's on a gig and a string pops, then I'm the guy that grabs a guitar, hands them another guitar, changes the string, and all of that stuff. That's me. And I absolutely love doing that stuff. Again, I have a strong technical knowledge with that stuff. So how I got started in that, I started out by doing it on my own. Church is college. I would admonish, and I guess I'm giving advice through this whole thing. That's just my personality. But I would admonish anybody who is in a professional field that wants to learn something aggressively, fast, and in a structured setting, a semi-structured setting. I would say get connected to a church. Church is like college. You have every week, it's a different assignment. You have different songs, different music, different message. You have a different crowd, but it's like putting on a show. It's like touring locally. You're putting on a show at least once or twice a week, with rehearsals in between. So if you're looking for a place to learn, go find you a good church that's doing something that you like to do, and connect with that church, and you might get some Jesus. on the side of that too. So, um, but so all the things that I was doing in church, I get hired to do on the road. Like again, the backline teching, the playback engineering. I think one of my first professional calls was with the artist by the name of Stephen McWhirter, who is now traveling with Maverick City. Shout out to him. Um, Good friend of mine. Met him in the city. He's from my city, Louisville. Great dude. Um, and that was we did a couple of little tours around, and it was good to get into that field. Little did I know, and this was back in 2021. Little did I know I was getting set up to do some more major things. So further down in 2021 or 22, it might be 2022. I got the call from my friend Eric Catron. Shout out to him, to sub for him on a it wasn't a tour. It was just fly dates for Tank, and I was doing his playback and I was doing backline. So I was making sure the setup was good for the instruments, making sure everything was operational and everything that they asked for. Programming settings in the keyboards, making sure guitars are tuned, they're plugged in correctly, all of that stuff, and also running his playback. So I did a lot of dates with them, subbing for my brother Katron. And then in 2022, the middle of 2022, after these calls with these other artists, I got the call to come and be the backline tech for CeCe Winans. And in doing so, first of all, it was crazy, absolutely crazy. I went and did, and I'll tell on myself, um, just in case any of my coworkers or any of my friends or family see this. So I did a rehearsal. I was working with a company um, called Midwest Backline that got a call to do a CC Winans rehearsal. And I connected with my brother, who is one of our musical directors. And, he gave me, we talked the business of everything, and he told me what they needed. It, made sure that they had everything that they had, that they needed, and went down there for the rehearsal. It was at a church, um, and she wasn't there. My understanding was I was just doing the rehearsal with the band. The singers were coming. Cece wasn't gonna be there. Well, we get done, and I'm like, okay, it's time to go. They're like, oh, we're gonna go eat. I'm like, okay, I'll fellowship with the guys. We'll go eat. I'll come back. I'll pack everything up and leave. No, that wasn't the schedule. The schedule was they were having a dress rehearsal, which means CC Winans was coming in. Well, funny story, and I don't think I told you this story, but funny story. Cece comes in, her husband comes in. I get to meet her husband. Don't get to meet her. She's straight to business, which is fine, all good. Um, because they're already rehearsing. Yeah, no, I didn't tell you this. They're already rehearsing when she comes in. So they stop the rehearsal for a second, let her get situated. She's using her phone to look at the words. Um, and her phone is dying. So she walks over to the soundboard, which is to the side of everything and not connected to everybody who's singing. It's not the middle of the stage where she needs to be with her mic. So I remembered I had just packed one of my rechargeable batteries, one of them power banks. So ran out to the van, got the power bank, walked up to the sound man because I didn't know her to walk up to her with nothing. Walked up to the sound man. I was like, she can use this. And he was like, "Oh, okay." And then he handed it to her, and she looked at me. She said, "Hey, thank you." So then I'm at this point, I'm quietly fanning out. So I'm sitting up, got my phone in my hand, and I'm being cool. I know how to be cool in situations like that. Being cool, I'm chilling, relaxing, watching the rehearsal, enjoying the moment. Had a couple people text me. They're like, "Hey, what you doing?" I said, "Oh, I ain't doing nothing. I'm just sitting in CC Winans rehearsal, letting her use my power bank." So, but it's funny to look back at that with the relationship that I have with her in the camp now. So from there on, I got the call to do. She had just released her album "Believe" for it, and I got the call from my brothers to be the backline tech for the tour. Got that call, and it was life changing for me because this is something that I've been working towards. Worked in corporate America for 15 years. Ended up by the push of God and circumstances, we'll say that, quitting my job because it was time. God let me know it was time, and it was a sure sign that it was time. It wasn't anything that I was guessing. It definitely was a huge amount of faith. Because if you're walking away from a check every 2 weeks to you don't know when the check is coming in, that's faith. So had the opportunity to at the time be working logistics for Delaney Land Music, which is Todd Delaney's company. Shout out to Todd and Delaney Land Music. I hope y'all still running because that was a definitely amazing idea. And if y'all know anything about it or don't know anything about it, and you write and produce music, check out Todd Delaney's Instagram because yeah, that was dope. But anyway, working for that company, so I had grace. I had a few things going. I was producing music for a couple of solo artists. I was running a show on Clubhouse called "Let Me Hear Your Song," so I connected with a lot of independent artists and a lot of radio programmers and all of that. We serviced over 300 artists with over 500 music, over 500 songs during that period in time. I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but it's kind of coming to me in those pieces. But in doing that, ended up quitting my job. Got those calls. Well, I had just gotten that call to do the tour for CC. No, I hadn't got the call when I quit my job. So I was operating in faith. And then it led to those calls, the call with Tank, the call with Stephen McWhirter, and the call with CeCe Winans. So back to the end of the year, we do the Believe For It tour, fall of 2022, a most amazing time in my life. So we are at the first rehearsal. By this time, I've worked a couple of dates with CC already. Still haven't met her. No, I met her, but still haven't interacted with her more than just hey, because my role warranted that I stayed out of the way of the artists. And nobody told me this, but just admonishment to my people, be where you are, be where you're supposed to be, and God will make the way for you to be where you're going to be. So stay out of the way. There was no reason for me to interact with the artist, so I was never, and I wasn't one of those though. Oh, I need the autograph. Oh, I need this. Oh, I need that. If you allow God to make that opportunity for you, then He will, and He'll make it better than you can anticipate. So I in the first rehearsal, end of the last rehearsal. Was it the last rehearsal? It was the last rehearsal. End of the last rehearsal. Cece comes in for that rehearsal, does the whole set. She's walking around talking to everybody, and then she looks at me and she smiles and she says, "Hey, I was so excited to hear that you could come with us on this tour." That did so much for me because why do you remember who I am? Like I've been out of the way. So, but that speaks to what kind of person she is. Um, and at the end of all of that, we did the tour, developed a great relationship with her husband, and my team, my role team. Crazy though, like we're all a family, so great experience with them. And now here we are, fast forward to 2024, the end of 2024, we're going on our Christmas tour. Check out ccwinans.com and CC Winans on social, and y'all can check that out and see where we're going to be, if we're going to be closer to you guys. And we're doing a spring tour, so check that out. Y'all got to buy those tickets because show's crazy. Um, but I have matriculated from just being the backline tech to being a stage manager for her. So I have a lot more work, whole lot more work, but I love it, and it's something that I've been working for and praying for. It's opened other doors for me. I won't get into too specific detail. Don't get me. Um, but I won't get into too specific detail because I don't like name dropping. But I do believe in testifying. So three artists, CC One is being one of them that I didn't really think about this until maybe I got well into what I was doing. Three artists that I listened to as a child, as a teenager, um, that I've gotten to work with: Amy Grant, Michael W. Smith, and CeCe Winans. And Tank is actually and has been for a long time. Even if you look at some of my socials, has been one of my, if not my favorite male R&B vocalists. Crazy dope. So, and a sidebar, in working with CeCe, I got to talk to, which I had met him before, but I got to talk to and work with her brother, who is my favorite male gospel artist, Marvin Winans. And that dude is phenomenal and a very, very, very nice guy. So I know I kind of jumped all over the place with that, but there's a lot of in between to all of that that I kind of bypassed a little bit. I get to talking and but that's how I got started. That's a brief on how I got started, how God connected the dots to get me to where I am. And where I am now is I know that there's more. And for me, it's gratifying that this is the beginning for me, and I'm staying prayerful and working hard, not only to retain the integrity of what I'm doing, but to press forward towards more, because yeah, I know it's more. I know there's more for me. I definitely know there's a lot more for me. So, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you, Sheridan. Sorry. I'm in there trying to type my emojis and everything because I didn't want to interrupt or anything, but
Oh
no,
no, you
so
good.
cool.
Yeah, it was. I know I kind of jumped around a little bit, but I try not to get lost in the details because it's telling the story, but remembering how you felt during those times. So I
Right.
was kind of remembering all of that, and I'm like, okay, let me not go too far on this. And
You did just fine. You didn't go any way too far astray at all. Since you covered how you got into your industry, I think what I want to then go ahead and ask more universally, and you kind of already read me down through the scripture when I asked over the phone, but I'm gonna ask it again. How do you come to accept that you are where you're meant to be, and it's not above you to be there, like you should be there? How did
okay. So one thing that I appreciate about this generation of people, information, and access to information is we come up with buzzwords. I think the buzzword for this is imposter syndrome.
mm,
A lot of people are defeated by imposter syndrome, or they deal with imposter syndrome. Like, am I really supposed to be here? Is this for me? One thing about me is I'm a prayer. I pray consistently. I keep a mindset of prayer, and I think I don't know if it was my pastor or somebody else that I was listening to talk. Matter of fact, it wasn't. Pastor it was Pastor Winans. I mean, not Pastor Winans, Lord, Pastor Love, Pastor Alvin Love, her husband. He said, I don't put the phone down. He said, my communication with God is when I wake up, I pick up the phone, and I don't hang up the phone.
mm,
I just keep him on the line all day so that whenever I need to talk to him or something happens,
mhm,
or I talk to him like that. And I mean, just like I'm talking to you guys, I talk to God. That will keep you grounded,
mhm,
and that will keep you stable, in even in those times, because there are going to be times when you doubt.
mhm,
We've doubted things that we've seen. We doubted things that we've experienced until we got more of that and we're more sure in that. So, but having and being connected to the person that created you in all things,
mhm,
you have reassurance there. Also, just gaining knowledge in your field. A lot of times people deal with, well, am I supposed to be here? That suggests the presence of somebody who is that you're sure is supposed to be there. And
mm,
what would make somebody more qualified than you? Having more knowledge, having more experience, having more access. Well, you have the access, and apparently, if you're in the position, you have the knowledge to get you. You had the knowledge to get you there. So what you should do is study to keep acquiring knowledge to better your path and to secure your path. Because a lot of times, people will get into a particular place and they'll Instagram it up, they'll Facebook it up, they'll TikTok it up, while letting the opportunity to learn and grow
mhm.
pass.
Okay.
Um, and the final thing I'll say is being where you are. I'll remember, and I think I recalled this story with you when we talked previously. I remember when I was in the dressing room, it was in New Orleans. We were doing Essence Fest with Tank, and it was me, his band, shout out to band MVP, um, and his production manager, shout out to Tobias Tankard. Um, we were all sitting in Tank's dressing room. Tank likes to play and sing before he gets on stage. Has a beautiful spirit, good vibe. One of the coolest people I've ever met in my life, and a very, very nice guy. I might have to tell a bowling story too, but but we're sitting in the dressing room at Essence Fest. Maya just performed. Um, and we're sitting back there, Tank is playing and he's singing. And I grabbed my phone with my hand and I kind of squeezed my phone really tight. And I was like, nah, I'm gonna be in this moment. I'm gonna chill in this moment. I'm not gonna record right now. I've never been here before. I've never been in this situation before. Let me enjoy this moment.
Mhm.
Um, so after I did that, I did grab my phone, grab some footage. Come to find out, in that moment where I wasn't recording, somebody directly across the room was recording me. Wasn't recording me, was recording him, and I was in the shot and posted the picture. And I think I remember telling you. So I go to my Instagram, and my Instagram was blowing up, and I'm like, dude, I didn't even post nothing. Like what? And I go back, and of course, it's that moment, but
Yeah.
the video is of him and I'm in the background. And I of course later posted my video, but it was a point of view.
Yeah.
But the point of that story is being where you are and enjoying the moments that you have. Um, this ain't for every moment. You ain't
Mhm.
got to do this every moment. You know, put your phone down, be where you are, experience that, and live in the moment. Yep, living in the moment, Miss Wynn. You got it.
Okay. And so, look, this is for me and my people. Okay.
Okay.
So, when you get those calls that are like, "Hey, do you want to do this?" Do you? Well, you seem like at this point you do them just because, like you said, of where you're coming from and your foundation. You seem as if you are sure about it because you did do the knowledge part too. And so I don't know if this question you might. I don't know. I'm just going to ask it though. When you get those calls of opportunities in your brain, are you already immediately yes, or are you hesitant before you make that decision to step out there and especially at the beginning when you first started, because you also didn't say how you had walked CeCe off the stage and stuff like that.
Okay, I'll tell that story too. So when I to answer your question, when I get the calls, so it's my rule of thumb with the call. I could get the greatest call. I mean, the Pope could call me, the Pope's team could call me right now and be like, "Hey, we need you to come play Jesus in the middle of Buckingham. Come to Jesus in the middle of Buckingham Palace." I'm gonna be
Mhm.
excited, but my rule of thumb is it doesn't happen until it's confirmed. So, um, with those calls, it's generally check your availability, get back to us. So that gives me time to contemplate, meditate, and pray about it.
Mhm.
And one of my number one prayers, I told you I pray a lot. One of my number one prayers, and God knows this prayer to where I ain't even got to speak it out loud. God knows my heart on this. God, if it's my door, open it. If it's not my door, shut it in my face. I don't care how big or great the opportunity is, because I'm not going to get political, but we know that if you associate yourself with the wrong thing, it could break you
Yes.
and it could destroy your career. We've seen people who associated themselves with certain people
Yes.
who, after that situation, you ain't seen them since.
Right.
Uh, so it's definitely prayer, meditation, and I put it through thought. I also refer to my family too, because if it's something that's going to put me in a compromise with my wife or my kids, I
Hmm.
can't do it.
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, you have to realize what it is that's going to last longer than that opportunity.
Right. Right. I agree.
So the stage story, since you called me out, the stage story. So and this is how this is one of the this is a story that explains something that I tell my godson often. In order to successfully excel in most, I would say most career paths, I won't even just say in my field, but in most career paths, you have to learn how to be a problem solver.
Hmm.
And I've learned that through the people who have helped mentor me. You have to learn how to solve problems, even if it's something that you have no knowledge of. There's something that you can connect yourself to, or somebody you can connect yourself to help solve a problem. And if you can't, sometimes solving a problem is saying, "I don't know."
Yeah.
I don't know, and I've tried to find out, and I can't find out. But there was one concert that I saw, the artist, saw Pastor CeCe walking. She was walking on stage, and I think her people, her makeup artist, management, all of them were a little ways off behind her, but it was pretty dark, and I'm like, this is kind of dangerous. I know she's, she meditates and she's very, 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 very prayerful, all the time.
Hmm.
She epitomizes everything that I said about keeping God on the line. But so, me understanding the mindset that she was in and understanding my role, I'm like, she walking behind the stage and it's a little dark. So I'm gonna grab my phone, grab the flashlight, walk with her, and she started following me to her entrance point. Well, it came to the intermission, and I was standing on the opposite side of the stage that she was supposed to walk off. Well, I think she associated me walking her on, and she walked towards me instead of the correct place that she was supposed to go to get off stage, which wasn't a huge problem. And I just walked her straight back to her dressing room. And after that, I was approached by the powers that be, her team,
Mhm.
and they, one of the people asked me, "Who asked you to do that?" And I said, nobody asked me to do it. I was just, and they weren't doing it maliciously. They were just curious, as to how everything happened because it wasn't a bad situation. Um, and I said, nobody asked me to do it. I just saw that she was going on stage, and nobody was around her, but it was dark, and I didn't want her to, trip and fall. With a lot of stuff back there. And I guess she just assumed that she was walking on and off with me. And they were like, "Well, can you continue to do that?" I said, "My pleasure. I'm absolutely good with that." So I continued to do that, but with continuing to work in that environment, in that situation, and this is for all situations. I promise. It could be a Beyonce tour. It could be um a mom and pop church. There are
Mhm.
going to be situations where something needs to be done that's not getting done to the
Mhm.
most minute thing, and it's not because somebody's being irresponsible, but it's because with these situations there's so much to tackle, that sometimes it's just that. I mean, something for a piece of paper falls on the ground. I'm not going to try to go find a janitorial team just
Right.
so that they can pick up a piece of paper. I have hands. God gave me hands, and if it's the tissue, I'm gonna go grab something that's to where it's not gonna touch my hands. But I'm not so high and mighty that I can't hold a flashlight or pick up a piece of paper or something like that. Funny thing about it, you never know what opportunity that opens up, though.
Right. I agree with that. I actually really agree with that. Um, you made me think of a situation I had gone through, and it was one of those that it seemed really small, but because I'll say I picked up that piece of paper, it led to something that led to something that led to something. So yeah, I agree with you on that.
For
um,
sure.
I have, I do have another question. Um, First of all, I wrote that down. I'm gonna have to say that to myself. If it's my door open, it's not shut in my face. Because yeah, I'd rather. I don't need to learn the hard way. I'm not a learn the hard way type of person. So shut it in my face.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah, and I mean, people they misquote the scriptures. A lot of people say, and I've seen social media debates, and I just cringe when I see it. They're like, "Oh, money is the root of all evil. Money is the root of all evil." No, that's not what the scripture says. It says, "For the love of
Mhm.
money is the root of all evil." But what will you do for love? I'm just saying. So,
Mhm.
but when you focus again, you have to focus on what lasts longer than those things. And Lord, please don't challenge me on this because I need money to pay my bills. But you have to focus on what lasts longer than all of those things. Because money can be remade. And I think the biggest debate is money versus time. One
Yeah.
of my mentors said it best. He said, when somebody pays you, like if somebody paid me to come play, they're not paying me for my skill. They're not paying me for what I can do. And yes, that's what they need, but they're paying me for my time.
Right.
And that's understanding that it takes time not only to show up and to play, but if you send me 5 songs, I have to sit down and learn those songs. And in order to learn those songs, I've spent time learning other songs, spent time polishing my craft so that while you may give this song to somebody else and it takes them 5 hours to learn it, you can give it to me and it may take me 5 minutes. And that's going to save everybody what? Time. So
Yeah.
you're not paying people for their skill, you're paying them for their time. And it's out of respect of their skill and their gifting.
That's perfect. That's a great way to put it. Okay. Now you've named some pretty memorable moments. I was just going to ask you, do you have like a top memorable moment since you have become, come into your own, or just something that pivoted you so hard that you can't help but to remember it? But like, what is a pivotal or monumental moment that has happened for you?
Um, I so we've talked a lot about CeCe Winans. Of course, we know uh she is Jesus' baby sister, as everybody calls her. Um, I would say in that circumstance, yeah, there are a lot of them. There are a whole lot of them, just because again the environment is conducive of family.
Mhm,
Everybody there is they care about we care about each other. We care
mhm.
about each other from a personal standpoint, and it's been a good balance. No situation is perfect. No situation is perfect at all. No person is perfect at all. But we none of us ever act like we're perfect or any situation is perfect. If something's wrong, then we'll try to get it right. If a conversation needs to be had, it needs to be had. But saying that to say that that whole experience is just kind of like it's kind of like a soundtrack to my to where I'm at.
Mhm.
Um, with the Tank situation, I think with Tank, it was that moment in the dressing room, and it's because there were a lot of lessons in that situation that we'll have to talk about offline.
Okay, okay.
But I think the number one lesson again with that was being in the moment, but being able to enjoy the fact that this is what I've been working for, and now um, I'm able to do it. Another memorable thing is, and I mean, this may sound arrogant to some, but being able to turn down calls. And these are not things that I want to turn down, but I can't do this because I'm too busy doing this. I can't go and, do support this artist because I'm already out with this artist.
Yeah.
I haven't been in that position prior to this season of my life. So being able to do that is amazing. But I guess the other side of that is being able to say, I can't do this, but I got somebody who can. Because then God uses me as the
Yes.
guy that opens that door for that person to express their gifts and be able to use their gifts and to level up. So I
That's a
can't say it's one moment. I can't say it's one moment with the tank
I ain't gonna
situation,
let
yeah,
you
in the dressing room, but it's
I ain't want to
yeah,
put pressure on you to list them, but I'm glad you did more than one. I that's another one. I have been on the receiving end of someone being so blessed they couldn't take all the opportunities, and they said, you know what, Trending, do you want to do this? So yes, that's a keep being that type of blessing to people. That is, and I think that goes back to positioning yourself, and in the doors, the opportunities, that are for you. The ones that aren't. But I do think that there's a reliability that people, if they see it in you, for one, they'll trust you and you come to their mind first. Then also they'll trust your word on who you're recommending, because it's like, well, if you have this standard, I'm pretty sure who must have a similar standard to you if you're going to actually put your reputation out there for them by recommending them and everything like that. So, yeah,
very
that's
true. Very true.
traveling. Gma said it's not arrogant at all. It's a blessing to be booked and busy.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Listen, but one thing that I did think about when you said that is again that being in a moment piece.
Hmm.
Now it's looking back on television and seeing events that
Mm.
I was there, like the GMA Dove Awards. I was there. I was literally, I walked her on stage and I walked her off stage. Like I was there. And I'm like, man, I never saw myself there. And I think we talked about this when we talked, and that goes again. Y'all know I'm a church boy. So I'm throwing these scriptures at y'all, but I hope it helps. When the Bible says God is able to do exceeding abundantly above all you could ask or think, so when you get to a place to where you're like, dang, I never saw myself here, then you know you're in the right place. Because
Okay.
again, God is able to do exceeding abundantly all you can ask or think. So
True.
even if it's something that you imagine, I want to be the president of the United States. Well, now you're a former president and you're the leader of the UN. I don't know how that works. I just made that up. But
I got you.
I mean, that's the way God works, so that's definitely being in the moment and the most memorable moment. They actually tie together because again, like looking on social and even like when Pastor C is posting her videos from her session, just being like, man, I set that stage up. I was in that room when that record was recorded. I was matter of fact, I was yeah, I'm not gonna go into detail, but but just being able to recall those moments and being like, man, I'm literally a part of history now. And it's not even just my own history, but it's the history of somebody or people who are great people who are making change in this world.
Hmm. I agree. I always hope that's who I'm surrounded by. I definitely do. That's who I I pray about being surrounded by people with like that. I do. And it doesn't even have to, they're not always doing something that is grand. It's just that their way of life, grand, great things happen because of how they have situated their life and their character and everything like that. Like that's who I want to stay surrounded by for sure.
For
Um,
sure, it's super important, and I mean, even in dealing with, because a lot of in the I'll say back in the day, a lot of church people associated only church with church people. Let me tell you something, and just because we talked about these two names, I can circle around these two names, but Tank, one of the most, yeah, one of the most integral people I know.
mm,
He's a very and I mean I have stories to back it up, but I mean just an all around great guy. For me, it's are you better when you leave the situation, or do you feel bad when you're in the situation?
right, right. Ooh, yeah, I get that. Whew, it's a lot of things been have been changing. I'm sure everybody's going through change in their lives, and you're reevaluating, and certain things, certain events make you reevaluate as well. It's not one set thing, but yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one. You have some great inner questions to ask yourself.
I blame. Hey, listen, I blame my daddy. I told you he was the man.
Okay. I have two questions left. I only have two left, unless
Okay.
you need to think of something else.
No, just it's on. No, it's on you.
Okay. So my second to last question is, I do want to know, what are you currently working on project wise, or just something that you would like to share, even if it's not, I don't know, just whatever you are currently in. What season are you in? What project are you working on? Like, what's going on currently for you?
Okay. So I always say this. I use this term sometimes, and I mean it to heart, but on the flip side of things, I feel like God positions me and gives me information to give to people. So I
Mm,
won't say not to be deep, but I'm working on expressing my gifts more boldly and being more secure in what I'm doing. If you would have asked me a year ago, 2 years ago, are you a singer? I would have said no. But now I'll say yes, because I mean I literally have records that I've sang on. But it was me being not embarrassed, but when you have so many people, when you got people like Tank, Jasmine Sullivan, when you got people like Marvin Winans, when you got people like some of these young kids, man, that can like kill it. You
mhm,
like, man, they singers. I'm not really a singer. Well, that's not true. Because if and that's for me, it's understanding the purpose of a gift. God gives you gifts. It's different in human gifts. We have the Christmas season coming up. So
mhm,
trending, if I was to give you a gift, it would be for trending.
mhm,
It
mhm,
would be something that you use, something I would put thought into the gift. What does she like? What does she do? What are her habits? What are her routines? What can I give her to enhance her life?
mhm,
God doesn't give gifts like that necessarily. God gives gifts to people so that the gift flows through them to bless more people.
mhm,
So he essentially gives a gift to you to amplify what he's trying to do with his people. So he gives people the gift of music so that they'll bless people. And sometimes we have to suffer for those gifts.
mhm.
Um, So, and it's difficult, but I was getting to the question and I forgot the question because I got to talking a little
That's
bit.
what's
So,
your current project or current season that you
so
feel like?
current project, and current seasons. The reason why I said that is because, again, the answer to that question is I'm looking more into sowing into my gifts and doing what it is that God has called me to do.
Mhm,
That's producing music, that's writing music. I have a couple more songs that are coming out. I believe I might do an EP, and put all of this stuff together. I've released music before. I told you guys in 2014. I released a single called Thank You in 2021. Just released a single called Calling My Name
mhm,
this year in August, I believe. I have another single that I have almost done. Just a couple of more, well, not even just a couple more. I have a lot more music to get out. So focusing on getting that music out and not even just branding myself, but doing, because I think a lot of times we spend, which preparing is good. Preparing is necessary too, because you don't want to send out trash. But I think we spend too much overthinking preparation, than we do just executing. And that's a problem. I'm talking about myself. I have a problem with that. A lot of times I'm like, man, it got to be perfect. It got to be this. It got to be that, so on and so forth. Well, that's not the case. You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
It doesn't have to be perfect. Um, it needs to be effective. And
mhm,
sometimes effective is raw. Sometimes you can pick up your phone. with a video and sing, and you can touch the world. We see it every day on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. So, but just focusing on what God has given me to do, doing more of what I'm doing right now, teching, playback engineering, doing backline, doing stage management. Um, and most will say on a larger scale, but I don't even care about it being a larger scale. I just want it to be purposeful and
Okay.
meaningful, and I want it to be effective.
Okay.
So that's what I have in the works.
Okay. Okay. This is, I'm about to, at the risk of making you sound redundant, I just want to ask in a very specific way. Can you give all of us listening, the replay gang that's going to come back later and that's going to hear you, can you give parting advice of um, following your dreams, your passions, or just like not, or not getting that analysis paralysis, or however, just honing in on like doing what you love to do in spite of, or any advice, any parting advice?
For sure, for sure. I always got that. So top post of 2024 on Instagram. One of the top posts. One of my favorite posts is 50 Cent talking about that doggone bottled water. That young man said a bottle of water at a convenience store is a dollar, maybe $2 in the airport. And I'm paraphrasing. I don't know what amounts he said, but I've been to all of these places, so I know what water costs. Um, and in the airport is $4. Some other place it might be $6, so on and so forth. The bottled water hasn't changed. The ingredients have not changed. The elements in that make up that bottle have not changed. What's changed? The environment where it's sold. So saying that to say that your environment is one of the most important, if not the most important thing, that can help you excel. Make sure you're not in an environment of pessimistic people, that you're not in an environment of unfocused people, that you're not in an environment of unproductive people. Because if you are, then that's what you'll become, or you'll stay who you are and you'll become frustrated that nothing around you is changing. Because the problem with being around the wrong people too is we have the mindset of, okay, they'll change or I can change them. Let me tell you something. Nobody in the history of history has ever changed anybody but themselves. And
Mm,
nobody has the power to change anybody. You have the power to influence change, but you don't have the power to change people. Um, so I would definitely say your environment, hone in on your skills, your craft, find something that you love doing. People have said this, and I know that there's doubt of, well, I like doing XYZ, but there's no money in it. My grandmother, my father's godmother, I stayed with her part of the time that I was in college. She, we would have the most insightful conversations. She was in her 80s at the time, and she sat me down one time. She was like, "So, what is it that you're doing at this school?" And I said, "Well, I'm getting a degree in business." She said, "Oh," I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "I would have thought you said music," and she kind of gave me the grandmotherly look, kind of like grandmother Winslow on Family Matters. I would have thought you said music, and I said, "Well," and I said, "Music doesn't pay the bills." She said, "Why doesn't it?" And I looked at her, and she said, "When you get in your car, what do you do? What's the first thing you do after you start your car? Turn on the radio or turn on music? Well, now it's on your phone." Um, she said, "When you walk into the grocery store, what do you hear?" She said, "When
mm,
you get in the elevator, what do you hear? On TV, what do you hear? When you go to church, what do you hear?" So, and it really opened my mind up to what everybody else was talking against. Since she was like, since there's so much music, who you think is making that music? And you think they doing it for free? So essentially, she was saying, go after what it is that you know you're called to do. Because everybody's going to have a perspective. And a lot of people, even people who are experienced in the field, may tell you, I did this for such and such a years and I'm broke. Well, there's a reason why you're broke. And I'm not saying that everybody who's broke by it did bad by it. But if that's what you're called to do and you depend on God to supply your needs regarding that, it's gonna
mm,
happen. So yeah. So hone your skills, your environment, pray.
mhm,
The Bible says pray without ceasing. My pastor says all the time it doesn't mean that you walk around in a trance
mhm,
and you walk around super holy, holier than thou or anything like that, but in your mind and in your heart. Just like you can have a conversation with yourself in your mind, change
Mhm.
the person you having the conversation with, have a conversation with God. You have a situation where you're dealing with, you're like, you don't know what to do, and you sitting at your computer at your job, and your boss is getting at you about something.
Mhm.
Tune out a little bit and pray a little bit. I promise it'll change things for you, and God will keep you steered in the right direction. I would have loved 15-year career in healthcare. I would have loved to have quit my job within the first year and started doing what I'm doing now. But guess what? I wasn't ready.
Mhm.
I wasn't ready at all. But I had to trust in God to provide on the pathway to going to where I was going to be to get ready. I had to allow and trust God to provide the things that were going to sharpen my tools,
Mhm.
so that I would be ready when I arrived here. Because I mean, just think if I was in that dressing room on that video and I was up, acting all crazy and all of that stuff. I wouldn't have been on another gig ever. They would have been like, "This dude is crazy." I mean, he works good, but he's annoying to be around. We don't want him around, So trust God to put you in environments and situations that are going to sharpen your skills and sharpen you and get you ready for what it is that you're supposed to do.
Okay. I love it. That's where we're gonna leave it. Sheridan, thank you for your time. Please do not leave the backstage. I'm just gonna close out our live though. But thank you so much for your time. It's very much appreciated.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you. And I will say this: I told you I was going. If you threw it out there, but if y'all do check me out on socials, I'm gonna try to take a little break from socials. You're gonna see a little black. You're gonna see my picture is blacked out. I'm kind of taking a break, y'all. I need a little break. So if y'all give me grace, I promise I'm there. You can add me, send me messages, stuff like that. I'll get to it when I can, but I need a little break, y'all. And it's holiday season. This is the perfect time. So I'm gonna take a break. But yeah, she's gonna give you my socials and all of that. And yeah, I look forward to connecting with you guys. And I appreciate you for your time, Trina.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm dropping you down, but don't leave. Don't leave.
Okay, I'm gonna be here.
Okay. Okay, trendies. I want to thank you for your time. Y'all were I appreciate y'all in the chat. I appreciate you in the future replay gang. I definitely do. This was very nice. This is the message I needed. So hopefully y'all, got something from it as well, which I know you did. That's why you're here. So I definitely just want to say thank y'all for your time, for coming in and seeing what was going on, what were we talking about. Please definitely check out Sheridan, his singing, his just I think I see, I don't know if that's your pastor, but I believe it is, but you can see him on the organ. You can just see him do his thing. So I dropped his Instagram, and I will definitely also put it in the description box later. So thank y'all for your time. This has been the second installment of Trend Talk. So all right, one more time, it's for sure a series. No, thank y'all so much. I appreciate your support. I will see y'all soon. Bye.